Hello YouTube, welcome back to Assetto Corsa for the final car I believe that I'm going to be reviewing in the Porsche pack as a full-on review. Yes, there is the RSR Porsche to come, which obviously when that comes along I'll review that. But this is the last car of the Porsche pack that I'm going to be reviewing for a review, and since it is the best, I think, or at least the most coveted at the moment, I thought I'd save it to last. So this is the Porsche 918 Spyder, the third car of the top three, taking in the McLaren P1 and the LaFerrari, and this is the third. Now it's quite interesting because go back to the 1980s, early 90s, and you had the same three car companies, Ferrari, Porsche and McLaren, and the cars they had were the F40, which had, you know, your top speed and crazy kind of aerodynamics, throw around like a go-kart. Brilliant car, twin turbo, just bolted to a V8 engine, producing in excess of 500 bhp, to be completely honest. I know they say officially it was 487 or something, but in excess of 500 bhp. You had the Porsche 959, which came out I think the year before the F40. Had a top speed of 200 miles an hour, slightly less than the F40 just by 1 mile an hour, but had all sorts of traction control, stability control, all those fancy technologies that the F40 did not have. Then you had the McLaren F1, which came out, designed by Ron Dennis and Gordon Murray, and then that one came out and it was just like a phenomenal car in its own right, and you had those three competing against each other. Fast forward to 2014, 15 and 16, and the same three car companies are competing against each other with three cars, the P1, the LaFerrari and the 918 Spyder, and that's what I'm driving today. So, going straight into the specs for the 918 Spyder. Now I'm going to point out that the specs I have got for this are coming from Porsche, and having had a look at what we've got, it seems that excuse me, it seems that the actual car is not the standard 918 in Assetto Corsa anyway. It is more of some sort of, actually I'm not entirely certain, but it's what the name of the package is anyway, but it's I think it's pronounced Weissach package, Weissach. It's got to be something in German, so, and I'm not going to put on a German accent just to say it, but I think it's one of them. So anyway, this car is a mid-engined full hybrid car, twin magnet motors, one between the gearbox and the engine, and I can't remember what the second one is because I'm an idiot and I didn't write it down. 4.6 litre V8, which you can definitely hear. Obviously got 8 cylinders, like we said, 4 valves per cylinder, aluminium blockheads, direct fuel injection, 4.6 litres. In total produces 887 horsepower, which is 608 of it coming from the engine at 8,700 RPM, and an extra additional 156 coming from the rear axle motor, and 129 coming from the front axle motor, bringing it up roughly to 900 horsepower. Also comes in with 398 pound-feet of torque, which I have not converted into Newton meters because that's how it was given and I didn't realize, so there you go. I kind of like pound-feet, it sounds nicer. At 6,700 RPM with a maximum torque available, at least on the crankshaft, of 944 pound-feet. So there you go. The actual hybrid systems itself, the batteries are high-performance lithium-ion hybrid batteries, 6.8 kilowatt hours with max power of 230 kilowatts. So pretty powerful batteries, but of course you do have to charge them up. And the red line for the car is 9,150 RPM. Now the motor, the front motor at least I know, spins out up to 16,000 RPM, but the red line for the actual engine is 9,150, which gives us a power to weight ratio of 1 bhp for every 4 pounds or something like that. So basically I think about 500 bhp per ton. yeah, something like 500 bhp or so per ton. Not exactly 100% sure on that, but there you go. Oh, well, actually, I am 100% sure. I just don't want to do the maths to work it out. Rear-wheel drive, of course, but it does also have the motors running on the front wheels as well, so it does give you a four-wheel drive kind of effect in essence. But it also has rear-wheel steering. I think most of the power goes through to the rear wheels, but it's got enough bite on the front to really give you a good feeling. Carbon fiber monocoque, multi-link axle suspension with, of course, like I said, the rear wheel steering. Electric power steering. It's not fully mechanical, but obviously in Assetto Corsa you're not really going to be able to feel that as much, so there is that. 6-piston front calipers and 4-piston rear calipers, which are carbon ceramic composites, vented and cross-drilled, obviously, which does say something about the brakes, which we are going to get onto. And they're pretty big brakes. As well as that, they've got 20-inch front wheels and 21-inch rear wheels, which for those of you who want to maybe buy one of these, you're looking for 265/35 ZR20s on the front and 325/30 ZR21s on the back. And those are because this is the, I think, lightweight package or whatever you call it. It has magnesium wheels as well as opposed to forged alloy wheels. So there you go. Paddle shifters, 7 gears. I'm not going to go through the actually I might as well just give you the final drive ratio of 3.09. It does mean that it can get a top speed of 214 miles an hour with a 0 to 60 of 2.5 seconds, and if you got it in electric mode, which I don't think you can, 6.1 seconds, which is still incredibly fast. Can you imagine that without the engines running? 6.1 seconds 0 to 60 on that car. I mean, that's, if we're comparing that is about the 0 to 60 time of a Ford Focus RS. Not an RS, Ford Focus ST. Maybe, slightly down on RS, but you're talking that's just from electric motors. 0 to 124 miles per hour comes in at 7.2 seconds, and it can do quarter mile in 9.9 seconds at 146 miles an hour. And last but not least, I think the weight comes in at 1,400 kilos. Yep, I think it's 1,400 kilos. So there you go. That is pretty much all the specifications for the car. Now, into what it's like in Assetto Corsa. Well, first of all, modeling, texturing, don't have to complain about. It's really well done. Standard stuff. You're not really going to have to worry about that. Texturing outside is good, high quality. I'm not going to let Kunos off the hook that easily after what happened on one of the, was it the 911 Cup car or something, which wasn't exactly the brilliant quality GT3 Cup. And so after that I have been checking the quality of the textures a little bit more. Inside, I'm going to mention a note on the personal aesthetics of the textures. I love the green. I love the green dial. It just reminds me, for some strange reason, it reminds me, as I lose control, and I'm not going to hit, there you go. It does remind me of the, is it the Porsche Carrera GT, which this is essentially the successor to. It's the successor to the Carrera GT, although the Carrera GT had, 600 bhp? 605 bhp, while this has got 897. As a matter of fact, 608, just what comes from the engine, is 3 more than the Carrera GT. So if we didn't have the electric motors, I suppose this would be on par with that Carrera GT, which is kind of interesting. What else about the textures that I want to mention? Inside, no, I just like it. I do like it. It does look like a Porsche setup, but everything looks a little bit cranked to 11, if you know what I mean. There's a bit of chrome here and there, or some sort of shiny gloss material, some sort of brushed metal maybe. You've got the green display, which just gives you an electric feeling. I think they call it, is it acid green they call it maybe? I think the brake rotors are also that colour, but it does give you a really good feeling on it. You've got the steering wheel, which, it has its KERS button and all that, and very sporty. just got a single silver stripe. I kind of would have liked that one to be green as well. That would have been nice if that was green, but there you go. And then lots and lots of carbon fiber you can see all around. So there you go, that's the textures. Going into the sounds, I don't know, sound-wise, inside sounds great, outside sounds a little bit more muffled than I thought it would be. It's not terrible, I must say, it's not terrible, it's still pretty good, but it does sound just maybe a smidge more muffled than I thought it would actually be. And as you can see, we've already gone past the 10-minute mark here. I was genuinely that impressed with this car that I just kept driving it for a little while more. I've had traction control off, I've had a spin, I've done a bit of crazy stuff with it. You know, I've tried to drive it a bit mentally, I've tried to drive it a bit carefully. You're going to see me try and set a more representative lap time at some point. I think maybe on the next lap or the lap after, which still isn't that representative, but it's me trying to get to grips without the traction control on. With the traction control on, might as well just ease into physics. This car is an absolute riot. It's so brilliant. I never thought I'd like this car again. You know, I thought I would prefer the P1 over this, or the LaFerrari over this, because this has, you know, the four-wheel drive and all that. It doesn't. You know, you don't even feel it really. Correction, no, you do feel it when you need it. So when you're coming out of a corner and you put your foot down, you can feel that four-wheel drive dragging the car around. At low speeds, you can definitely feel it. It feels like a very agile car, far shorter than, you know, the wheelbase feels far shorter than it actually is at low speeds. But it feels quite stable. You know, I wasn't uncomfortable with this car, considering I have not driven this car. I wanted to save it for, you know, this episode. So I've had this car for a long time. I have not touched a car. This is the absolute first time I'm touching it. And it felt really nice to drive. When I switched off the traction control, you know, yes, I always test the limits in the simulator, because it's just something you can do. You know, you couldn't test those limits out on in real life. If you had a chance to drive this car, you wouldn't want to test those limits, but I'm doing it in the simulator because you can. You know, you can spin out, you can crash, it doesn't really matter. But when you're trying to put together a lap, the steering felt really solid and secure. It didn't feel like I was soaring at the wheel too much, especially with traction control on. When you had traction control on, it was just like out of the corner, put your foot down, the ever so slight corrections for oversteer if you had to, and that was just on traction control on half setting, you know, one of its settings. So yeah, when you actually had, I mean, you can see me here now counter steering just a little bit. I'm doing that on purpose. I'm actually in full control of the car there. It's not like I'm messing up or anything, and for that, well, I don't know, it's just, it was brilliant to drive. It really was brilliant to drive. And I think I'm going to have to do a showdown between this, the LaFerrari, and the McLaren P1, just to see which one is the best, because these are absolutely incredible machines. And for this, I have to give this one a 10 out of 10. The reason I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 is I enjoyed this more. Again, doing that on purpose. Complete control of the car. Yes, I may have gone into the grass a little bit, but that was my own bad driving, as in I was too far over to the inside curb. But in complete control of the car as I'm sliding it, you know, which I thought was really great. So this is a 10 out of 10. It's an incredible machine. I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, the power delivery is instantaneous. It's just, you just go. It's just a go car. I highly recommend people to drive it around, and I am definitely going to have to test this against the LaFerrari and the McLaren P1, and I'm going to put that on video. So make sure you guys tune in for that. So make sure you hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to the channel for that showdown as well as other videos on Assetto Corsa. Leave a comment in the comments box below, let me know what you think, and do check me out on Patreon scheme. Your support would be massively appreciated. Link to that is in the description box below as well. I think I'll take this car for a few more laps, but I think I'll end this one with a little bit of a slide. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you guys next time.